Now, as I was saying, my sister tried to say that we barely had enough money to pay for my mother's funeral, insinuating that she did not have insurance, okay? But like I said, I seen an insurance man as a child. But that ain't all that happened that I seen. During the funeral arrangements, I was there at Cantrell Funeral Home, and they allowed me to pick out my mother's casket. Now, as a kid, I picked out this shiny silver casket, okay? Now, but Mr. Cantrell, the owner of the funeral home, he knew all our family for many years, probably before I was born. I knew him and he knew me. He said, hey, listen, that casket right there, that's for people that ain't got money. You got to pick out one of these nicer caskets for your mother. So what is he saying? See, because if we didn't have money to bury our mother, like my sister said, getting a cheaper casket would have been ideal. You see? But that wasn't the case. See, because in 1983, when my mother died, a complete funeral was only $2,250. With everything included, casket, services, family cars, everything. $2,250. The only thing that wasn't in that package was the headstone. You see, which my sister got that money and didn't even get my mother a headstone. But see, that wasn't all that happened. See, I told you how my sister Trisha was being real slick and having my mother sign paperwork. Well, see, during the time of the funeral arrangements, she needed, for some reason, my sister Lou to sign some papers. So because she wasn't talking to her, she had my Aunt Charles to get in touch with Lou and tell her she need to sign this paperwork in regards to the funeral arrangements. But because Lou knew Mr. Cantrell, she went and talked to him at the funeral home first. Mr. Cantrell said, don't you sign no papers. See, I'm gonna get my money. Well, what do you mean by that? Do he mean that he gonna get his money from family who Trisha say barely got the money to pay for the funeral? Or because he's the funeral home director and been doing this for so many years, he gonna get his money from the insurance company? Yeah, that's what he talking about. So this lie she telling, we barely had enough money to bury my mother. That's out the door. Like every other lie she been telling. See, everybody that know my mother and father, they knew their whole lives was about saving money. Only thing they focused on was home, their children, and saving money. They didn't live no lavish life just because they had some money. No, none of that. It was home, children, and saving money. Now, when my father passed away, they had money in numerous bank accounts. In 1974, my father had a heart attack. He passes. He got a $60,000 insurance policy. My mother, when she go to the bank, they tell her, based on what's in the account and this $60,000, you ain't gotta work. You gonna live off the interest of what's in the bank. See, back then, a $60,000 policy in 1974 would have been like getting $366,000 today, which is a nice little piece of money, especially for the average person. Now, with this information, she can live off the interest. Let's look at her bills, her monthly bills. A gas bill in the wintertime at that time was $40 a month, okay? A light bill was $10 a month. That's $50. A phone bill was $5 to $10 a month. That's $60. A water bill was $5 to $10 every 3 months. The taxes on her house was $45 a year. The house is paid for, so it's no house note. The car she got is paid for, even though she don't drive. Now here's the thing. On top of this money that's making interest in the bank that she can live off of, she got Social Security checks coming for me and her. Now, we just analyzed her bills, less than $100 a month. So she could basically live and pay her bills and all her living expenses on one Social Security check. Then she got another to back that up. So that means she ain't even got to touch the money in the bank or that money that's make that interest that she making every month. Now, most people that I found out that was making money off their money being in the bank and they was told they could live on this money, they had $100,000 or more in that account when they was told this. So we can easily say, with that insurance money, my mother had $100,000+ in the bank. Now, at just 1% interest on $100,000 gives you what? $1,000 a month. Now, $1,000 a month times 12 months a year is $12,000 a year she's making. Okay? Now, from 1974 to 1983 is 9 years. 9 years of this money making money. Okay? That gives us 12 times 9, $108,000 on top of the $100,000 that's already in there. That's $208,000. Now, because I'm a reasonable person, let's say in the 9 years, she did dip into this money from time to time. Few thousand here, few thousand there, for whatever reason, which she didn't even have to, but let's say she did. Let's say in the 9 years she spent $30,000 of it, okay? But then, let's say because when she got sick, even though she had the top flight health insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, we know how insurance companies have so many things that they don't cover. So let's say she had all these medical bills and expenses outside of what her insurance didn't pay, and she had to spend another $30,000 of that money too. So that gives us what? 60 minus 200, or 200 minus 60. Let's say we at 140,000 now. But because she dies, and we already established the fact she did have insurance, the same amount my father had, which is $60,000. So we back at 200 when she dies. Her insurance only $2,250. So we still at 200,000. It's what she left for me to that account that my sister said that had my name on it, it had $150 in it. I went to the bank to get that money because I needed it. And that was an account that my father opened up when I was a child before he passed away. It had been inactive since he passed in 1974. They told me, you got to get his death certificate for them to release the money. Now, mind you, I'm an 18-year-old kid. I don't know nothing about where to get a death certificate at. Hell, I don't even know what a death certificate was. But I had to figure it out. And when I did, I had to catch the bus to go get it. Stand in line. And when I got done, the bank was already closed. And like I said before, we was going through a bad time. We're in the middle of winter with no heat. We have been using a hot plate to cook on. Now here's the thing. Because things were so rough for us at that time, the hot plate had broke down a couple times. So I had to be like MacGyver and take it apart and make it work. Figure out a way to make it work, which I did twice already. This time it was done. So that night, we couldn't even cook dinner and eat. Had to wait till the next day when I went and got the money from the bank. And so I go get the money and go buy us a hot plate. Now we can cook. You know, I turned 18 36 years ago. And not one time have I told anybody that this woman stole my money. My children, all grown. None of them know about this. Family members, my brothers and sisters, ain't none of them know. My children's mother, who went through this with me, me and her ain't never spoke about this. But why now? Why now? After all this time? See, the reason why now is because my sister who done this has been running around telling people this story about how bad we was doing, how we was over there with our children. The gas is off, the lights off, not having food. But I ain't telling nobody. She was the one that caused it all.